Yeah.
Good afternoon.
That's not payable for 2 years, isn't it? Over 2 years?
Not sure. Morning.
I guess it's morning still, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, you got a minute.
Yeah.
Rick,
Hey, Rick.
Can you hear me okay? We're good to go here?
You're
Hello?
breaking up, Rick.
you're breaking up, Rick.
Yeah, you're breaking up again. I don't know if it's me or if it's somebody else, but let me log back in and see. if it's
You're
me.
breaking up for me too, Rick.
Bill, why don't you mute your mic?
Okay.
Rick, you want to try now? Good morning, Sheila.
Good morning.
Morning, Sheila.
Hi.
Morning, Sheila.
Hi, Bill.
Rick, can you hear us? Do you want to try your mic?
Yeah, we're good. Can you hear me? You can't hear me?
Yeah,
I
you're
can
good, Rick.
hear you. I can hear you well.
Pardon me?
You're
You
coming
can
through
hear me?
clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Morning, all.
Morning.
Morning.
How you doing today, Chris?
Doing great, Rob. Congrats. I think I said it on LinkedIn, but seems to be a lot happening with you in the last month or so.
Yeah, the smart grid announcement was pretty big for us for sure. Yeah, it's nice to see. It's a nice community initiative too.
It's awesome. Can you re-coordinate the vaccine distribution in Ontario for us? That'd be great.
It'd be nice if we actually were even in the same realm as the age categories down south. Eh?
I saw that. Yeah, I saw
18
that.
pluses, and we're still at like 40 or 50 plus, right? So
Yeah. Oh, well. That's good. Any progress, I love it.
yeah, it's nice to see there's a bit of a sort of preview of the end here, right? You can see it coming now. So yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry I'm a few minutes late. I got stuck on a call. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes,
Rick, are we waiting for anyone else?
I believe so.
We're just waiting for Terry.
Okay. Okay, so I see that we have Mr. Howie again. I wasn't sure if we were having an open session, open part of this meeting today. Rick, maybe you could give me some direction on that.
Yeah, there are two agendas. There's the open agenda, which we'll be talking about staffing, update on the priority EDC projects, which are the downtown initiatives, industrial lines, and smart grid. So we will be going through those.
Okay, here we go. Sorry, I saw that there are several amendments too. Okay, so I'll call the meeting to order. It's 12:05. Are there any additional agenda? Any conflicts of interest? Has everyone had a chance to go through the consent agenda? And I'll entertain a mover and seconder to approve the consent agenda. Just by show of hands, I see Bill and then Sheila. Next, going into new business and updates. So Rick, I'll turn it over to you to go through 3.1 through to 3.3. At the end of 3.3, if anyone has questions, we can walk through those. So Rick, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Paul. From staffing update standpoint, as I mentioned at the last meeting, we were bringing on Kathleen Heyman. She's now in play. She's been doing quite a great job networking within the city and actually making some very good forward progress within the community. She's been engaged with Algoma University, Confederation College, and a number of other key stakeholders in the community. So our business retention and expansion activities are well underway. And I believe she's going to do a great job for us. At the general meeting, I will be bringing her and our new business attraction manager in, who will be starting June 7th for personal introductions. So you can all put a name to the face, and they'll give you a quick bio as to what they are all about. So Joe Turpin has moved his start date to June 7th. Just his move got a little bit backed up with everything going on. So he will be starting on June 7th. As far as updates, as we landed on when we did the last exercise, as far as what are the priorities for this year, we did land on downtown initiatives and the industrial land. So I'll spend some time on those today just to give you an update as to where we are, where we're going, and when we'll get there. So first with the downtown initiatives, the best practice we've been examining, as I mentioned before, was the Erie Downtown Development Corporation. So we've been pursuing information on a recent revitalization of the downtown core of Erie, Pennsylvania, and they share a very similar profile to Sault Ste. Marie as far as economic challenges and the deterioration of their downtown core. At its peak, Erie population was about 140,000. It's now sitting at about 96,000. So you can see there's been a significant population decline over the years. So we're developing a list of recommendations for the board of directors here, and the recommendations will be presented in Q3. I'm working very closely with Tom Bear on getting these finalized. And they're going to encompass really some of the general best practice established by the Erie Group, as well as input derived from local business leaders and investors to the viability of private investment becoming a driving force in the revitalization of the Sault Ste. Marie core, similar to the Erie model. So the Erie model really was driven by private money, and that was kind of the key to their success because they were utilizing private money. They did have a whole entirely separate agency that was managing the process, so gave them the freedom to really act nimbly. So in 2016, the City of Erie developed a comprehensive plan and community decision-making guide with the support of City Council, City Planning, and they used a consultant firm called CZB. And out of this exercise, the decision was made to establish the Erie Downtown Development Corporation, which was the independent operating unit, which would operate independent from the cities. And right now they have 5 individuals that are currently working on the process. As they went through all the exercises, all the stakeholder interviews, everything else, they came out with 4 key priorities that really were critical to the execution of the plan. And we're going to go through a similar type of exercise to validate. The first one is always start in the core. So make sure you're in that downtown core area. That's where you start. That's where you need to build hard and then work out from there. Second was cluster your investments together. So maximize the dollars, put them on a focused area as opposed to spreading them thin over a wide area and really not seeing a big blast for your buck. Third was create a new entity outside the government to manage. So creating an independent board that could manage that whole process and be a arm's length to us, and utilize private money. So we're going to actually, Tom and I are working on some avenues and some communication paths with local business leaders to see if we can gather up the interest to get some type of an investment program going. So in Erie, the EDC actually raised about $30 million to institutional investors. They got the money from 2 private universities, 5 of their regional banks, the local hospital, the plastic manufacturer in the company, and the community foundation. So their EDC has a mandate to generate a return. So it's not, just going on getting money and spending it. There's actually a return that's required to the investors. One of the projects already is projected to have a 15 to 17% return, which is pretty good. And the typical returns that they're targeting for the rest of their investments are 6 to 8%. They've leveraged up the equity fund 3 to 1, so they raised 30 million. So they actually have 100 million in total capital now. And the funds are to look at properties to acquire and redevelop. So, for example, one of the things they did, which was quite radical, they had a downtown McDonald's in Erie that was a focal point for a lot of crime, a lot of drugs and things like that going on in that downtown area. And it was focused around the McDonald's. They actually purchased that McDonald's location for $3.35 million, knocked it down, and started to do a rebuild as far as part of the core. So some radical things that they're doing. I'm not saying we're doing anything that radical, but obviously this was the mandate they've had, and this is how they're moving. To date, they've purchased 12 properties. 7 of 12 will open this summer and fall, and 4 are new builds. 8 are renovations and buildings being repurposed. Total of 477,000 square feet in total, and 100,000 square feet in retail. So a lot of space. They're establishing within that area in the downtown core a culinary arts district, and they're actually going to build an indoor parking garage in the middle of the building for ease of access. So they'll have a number of different restaurants and things there. And one of the things they're doing is they're going to work more on a commission basis with the vendors there. So the people are doing significant cash outlays on the front end. So they'll be able to establish and get their businesses up and running. So it's a very unique concept. We believe there's some components there that we can adapt, and we believe that we can go out to the business community and seek their interest and see where we can take it. I don't, obviously we're going to build our own model. We're not going to mirror their model, but this is a great place to start, and it gives us a good look at it. In conjunction with that, the downtown plaza update, the plaza has been finalized. Obviously, the locations, 535 Queen and 526 Bay. There were a number of Zoom sessions held with the public and the BIA to seek stakeholder impact, input, and feedback. And from that, the city received over 200 responses on the online survey, with the majority being positive, with a desire for the plaza to contain retail locations, food vendors, access to concerts, and definitely adequate parking. The revised design estimate right now is about $7.8 million, and the finalizing of the funding is in process. So we would expect that to be going through in the near future. The finalized plaza plan includes features such as a water feature, skating rink, play structure, stage and digital screen, food, drink, and retail shops, and a general gathering area. So it's going to be a great start on the downtown revitalization as well. So that's the downtown core. As far as industrial lands, we've been. Yeah.
Rick, I see that some people do have questions on this. Why don't we
Sure.
open this up for questions, starting with Chris, and then if anyone else can use the raise your hand feature or simply come in once Chris is completed. So Chris, you go ahead.
Thanks. I was just asking for examples of how the partnership with private enterprise had worked in the downtown core, but I think Rick actually gave me an example after I raised my hand.
Okay, so you good on that, or do you have to?
I think I'm good, Rick. Thanks. Yeah, you answered it before I got
Okay,
a
no
chance.
problem. Thanks, Chris.
Okay, I see Sam, you have a question?
Rick, I'm just wondering if you have any knowledge of how crowdfunding works. Have you ever investigated that avenue? I was doing a little research a while back. I can't say I know a lot about it, but it sort of gives small investors a chance to invest in their own community. Would probably work in situations like this. I think they were just sort of legalized in Ontario not that long ago, but it allows people to just invest in their own neighborhoods, actually. And I can't say I know a lot about it, but are you aware of anywhere where they might be doing this?
I'm not aware of anywhere where they might be doing this. Am I aware of crowdfunding? Absolutely. Would it be an avenue? Definitely something to consider in a project. I think the scope of the dollars you need initially to get some impetus, you probably have to start with business to get that core amount of money to get this thing rolling. And then could you incorporate crowdfunding as a part of it? Absolutely. I would say it's definitely worth looking at. And I'm familiar with the concept. So yeah, there's definitely an opportunity. I'll make note of it. And as we go forward, we'll keep it in mind.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
I have just probably one or two questions, but I'll leave the floor open. So Rob, next.
Yeah, thanks. So you've looked at Erie. Does it give you any thoughts? Is there stuff that you're starting to consider with respect to things that would apply in Sault Ste. Marie, or is it still in sort of the early research stage? I'm just trying to figure out where this is in terms of development.
So Tom's had some, and I've been part of a couple of them, but there's been some conversations that have been happening with some people in the local business community just to see what their thoughts were around putting some skin in the game, so to speak. And so far, I mean, we're getting positive response. I would believe that, as we move forward on this, that's going to be the first building block is working with some of the key business people and definitely getting their buy-in. Obviously, without and that was the key with Erie. I mean, Erie had a couple of key stakeholders that really stepped up and did a large percentage of that funding. Now, are we going to be able to raise 30 million? I don't think that's probably a realistic number to look at. So the numbers, we're going to have to suss those out and figure out what that looks like. But it's all going to start with those conversations with key people and making sure that they have the interest, because without the funding, it's going to be hard to move forward.
Yeah, fair enough. But in terms of having the discussions around the funding, wouldn't there be what are they funding sort of thing, right? Wouldn't that be sort of a natural
Yes.
thing you'd have to figure out first? So I guess where my question is we've seen what you're talking about with respect to Erie, but what would apply here in Sault Ste. Marie? Like, what's the vision here that you're going out to businesses asking for them to invest in?
Well, I think the vision would be similar. And this obviously would be discussions that we have to have further with the planning department and everybody else. I know there are some plans already in play for the downtown core. So it would be identifying, as I said, back to their priorities that they identified, which was, you start in the core. So I think it would be focused on the core area. We'd have to define that. I think there've been some ideas on what the core of that Queen Street area is. So that would have to be defined. There would have to be some definite fence posts put in there to say, okay, this is the core. Cluster your investments together. So at this point, yes, it is somewhat theoretical. I can't tell you, this address and that address and this building and that building, what that's going to look like. That's the part that we have to nail down, and that comes along in hand with what kind of monies are available to make it happen.
Thank you.
I have a question along the same lines. I guess I understand the concept, but how do we implement that concept or approach that was used elsewhere within this community, bearing in mind, A, the structural issues that you have here, B, the political issues and the size of the downtown that you have to play with? I mean, do you go up to a corporate donor potentially and say, we need $100,000 to revitalize or help us revitalize Queen Street? So the first question they're going to ask you is, what are you going to do? What's the plan? I guess I'm trying to understand the approach that we might want to take in order to further the general proposition that the EDC is going to help revitalize the downtown. I'm having some issues understanding that.
Yeah, and I don't have that answer for you today. I mean, that's obviously, once we get into detailed planning, it comes down to first getting agreement that, you know, this thing's got some legs that we can make it happen. The second part of that is once we have that, in conjunction with the planning that's already been done for the downtown core, I know there's been significant planning already done in the past as to areas and things like that. We have to look at this model and apply it and say, does it work for us or not? Are we willing to buy properties as they did in Erie and repurpose them? So there's some big questions that have to be answered. This is not going to be something that I can come back to you in 2 weeks and say, you know, here's the plan. This is going to take some time to develop. It's going to take a lot of stakeholder input, and it's going to take a lot of buy-in from the community. So this is not going to be an easy road. It's not going to be a quick road, but it could be a very, very effective road.
Rick, I don't think that we're not understanding of that. And we appreciate that it's going to be, you know, a number of years to put this plan into effect. But I think as a board member, someone's got to lay out the sort of approach and the plan as to how we might be able to achieve a particular goal. Right now, I guess we're still struggling with A, the goal that we want to achieve, B, the staffing or the personnel that will make those decisions, and ultimately report back to the EDC to see if EDC has money available to put into the projects along with other partners. I guess from my perspective, at the very least, we should have a timeline, say whether it's 2 months or 3 months, within which to come up with an approach and staffing or objectives that we want to reach within that particular timeline. Right now, I don't know if it's going to be a 10-year program, a 2-month program before we can get some idea who's going to be involved in making the decisions or recommendations. So I think we're looking at a structure and timeframes to achieve certain objectives, if I can put it in better terms.
Sure, and I appreciate that. And as I preface this discussion with, we'll be coming back to you in Q3 with exactly that recommendation.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? So Rick, the few questions I have, actually Joe covered a couple of them. I'm looking for a bit more structure as well too, so that we have an idea of where the timeframes for the project. But also I think it's important that right from the outset, we start engaging our community partners. So I think we should have either a comprehensive list presented. If that's not by the time our AGM comes, then at least by that Q3 presentation that we're expecting, including, I think it's important to get First Nation partners as well too on board right from the outset. But really, I think we need to develop that list and to show everyone that we're going to be working together as a community to move that project forward.
Fair enough.
So if there are no other questions on that, we'll move to 3.3.2 industrial lands.
Industrial lands has been exploring the expansion of our industrial land availability. February, we reached out to the MTO about acquiring approximately 100 acres of Black Road land. that had been set aside for future Highway 17 bypass. At the time, we were advised there are no plans for the MTO to divest that property. So subsequently, we engaged the city planning department, and they've escalated within the MTO and providing support detail that the land has been set aside is much more than would ever be required for a Highway 17 bypass, and that the 100 acres we were seeking would not impact any future plans. And it's prime land for development, obviously, putting servicing in there. There's everything we need to build out a service industrial park. So it's a good location for us to get our hands on. In addition, we're cataloging, working with city planning and cataloging all the available city industrial properties. In fact, today I was on a call, we were talking about the Yates Industrial Park and available lands there and what's been spoken for. So going down into all the available properties and seeing what we have available, what type of services, locations, etc. In our new website, the Invest website should be launching. It's significantly behind schedule right now. We're not pleased with that, but it should have been launched back at the end of March. We'll be looking at an end of June launch right now. And we're going to be incorporating the industrial land into that. So it'll be searchable and we'll be able to find and point people at what lands we have available. I also had some initial discussions on doing a build to suit offering that would be more of a, I guess you could call it almost an advertising vehicle on the website that would say, you know, if you need, for example, 500,000 square feet, we don't have 500,000 square feet right now, but we need to be able to say, we can build that for you. Here's the individuals that can assist. This is your contact list, and really build out that connectivity back to the community so we can have availability to building things. Because when you're looking to establish a new business, if you come to Sault Ste. Marie and we say, well, we don't have 500,000 square feet, and Sudbury says we do, Sudbury will win. So we need to have a mechanism in place that gives us an opportunity to compete for that. And that's really the target for the initial offering, and getting that all up and running will be Q4. We'll utilize the website. We'll put the banner up on the website. It's going to call out the industrial land as well as call out the ability to have build to suit partners and who they would be in contact listings and all that. So that's where we stand on the industrial lands at this point. Any questions?
Sam?
Yeah, my question is, we're just kind of going over your material here. Is this, you're creating a city-owned industrial park? Is that what we're doing, or we're zoning land, making it available for industrial development?
No, actually, we're just going back. We have pockets of industrial land throughout the Sioux.
Right.
You know, there's a piece here, and there's a piece there, and there's a couple over here, and there's one or two here. And
Yeah.
there's really not a good way to get your arms around what is available today. You have to go digging pretty deep. So what we want to do is make that accessible. The first step would be just, let's get that all cataloged. Let's get it on a map. Let's show what they are. Let's show the acreages and locations. So that's step one.
Yeah, I know, like I've just recently have had several inquiries for people looking for industrial land, and there's a real scarcity out there right now, privately owned and city owned. So I know it takes a while to get land developed, so I don't know what the plans are going forward regarding even reviewing the official plan, if we should make more land that would be suitable for development, zoned and ready to go. And the private sector might look after part of this supply problem if they were allowed to do it.
That is definitely something I can explore. So Sam, from a private sector standpoint, what is your thoughts around that, just to help me understand a little better?
Well, I mean, all I can tell you is, I mean, I'll get in my car, I'll drive around, and I'm looking for sites. I'm thinking, well, then you look at the zoning, it's zoned RA, or it's zoned some zoning that doesn't seem to be appropriate. So whether you look at going forward, I think we all can agree now, and I don't know how long this will go on for, but there's a huge demand for warehouse space. I'm looking outside my office. There's been 3 delivery trucks pull up here so far today. And I've had calls from people with, actually from Amazon out of Montreal. And I know a few others, I won't go into names, that we just can't find land for them. So There's been a number of sales up in the industrial park where Brookfield just built, and I think Coprash built up there. So we're running out of land. And I know it takes time for servicing and zoning and these types of things. So, and I know dealing with the provincial government can take forever. I know that land. I did appraisals on it 25 years ago, and they were talking about the highway then. So I don't see that happening soon enough to meet the demand. So that's just my comments. I don't know what the answer is to that question, but it is a problem right now.
So let me bring that back to the planning group. And again, I'm still relatively new to what tools I have available to me, but maybe there is some type of a study we can conduct on what the existing zoning is on some of this land and is appropriate. And so let me take that one away, and I'll see what I can, and I'll get back to you on that one.
Yeah, they have the inventory there. I know. Actually, I got a call from somebody that was sent to me from the city saying, "Here's where we're looking," but when you go out and look, there's nothing there. So it is a problem. So yeah, I don't want to belabor the issue, but that was just my comments.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it, and I'll take it away and see what I can come up here.
Any other questions or comments? So Rick, perhaps let's keep that on the radar because we do have it keyed as a priority EDC project. So obviously if there's any sort of red tape or any sort of clarity that could be added rather, I think we should put that on the short list. And so let's keep that as a priority. And in the coming months, let's see if we can have something put together so that by the fall, it makes it easier for investment in industrial land in Sault Ste. Marie.
Absolutely. And if anybody wants to send me an email if they have specific ideas or thoughts on how I can take this down, I'm welcome your input.
Great. So let's move into 3.3.3, the smart grid.
And this one's really Rob's thunder, not mine. This one's a good one. So obviously the approval's been announced for the smart grid project and now advanced. Targeted completion December 2022. Beyond the direct project installation benefits, project represents a benefit to the local business community and presents an opportunity for company attraction and future industry collaboration. Just so you know, we had some meetings this morning starting to discuss what that's going to look like. So, this is already starting to become a very topical discussion point. A companion press release with the POC recognized the city's ongoing leadership in the energy sector and issued the release on Canada Newswires and conducted outreach with various smart city publications to amplify awareness of this project. I know Tom did receive some feedback from some of the publications out there and people were getting back to him with some questions. So I think that's a very positive thing. So we actually are meeting with Rob's team in the very near future to advance further opportunities to see how we can leverage this project.
Great. Any questions
on that? And those are the updates I have, Paul. Any more questions that I can answer?
No. So next we have on the agenda is upcoming meetings. So what I would like to do is within the next few days, we'll be setting the AGM in June. I've been working with our corporate solicitors to update the bylaws for several months now, and I was hoping to have those today, to be ready today. But I'll make sure that they are ready in the near future, and we'll schedule an AGM, which will coincide with the board meeting, and the executive will meet most likely the week prior. So look for that within the next few days. Otherwise, if nobody has any other additional questions, I'd like to move to the in-camera session. So I'll accept a mover and a seconder to do that. Mr. Helwig, thank you for joining us today. Mr. Helwig, do you have any questions?
No, I'm fine, except to indicate to Rick that we do have a strong interest in the Erie, Pennsylvania project, and I'm planning a fairly major story that will also involve some initiatives that we're doing with regards to solutions-based journalism, and this will we're working with groups out of the United States on that, and this will be our first solutions journalism project done with their cooperation. So it's taken a little more time than normal, but just to reassure Rick that that I have an ongoing interest in that, and there will be, I assume, a story coming out later this week.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And I'm out of here. Thank you, folks. Bye now.
Have a good day. Okay, so I think I saw Sam move and Chris second to move us